Food connoisseur, God chaser, and global ministry liaison to the kids. Pastor Glen rose into the ministry ranks starting out in small groups ministry into the current space of world stage missions. This is his story. Pastor Glen is chosen. Welcome to episode 3 of Chosen. It is an interview podcast where we have chosen individuals serving in their respective callings and in their ministries. Today, we have Pastor Glen. He is a friend of ours for, probably over 18 years. Not only a good friend of mine, but also a good friend of FFL. So today we're going to know, for those of you who may not know him, we're going to know his background, we're going to know his journey, and hopefully at the end of this interview, we will have a takeaway as well. So one of the things that I'm sure a lot of people would like to know is you are a successful missionary anointed by God, and God is just doing amazing things. But it's always good to know how it all began. So first of all, when was that first encounter that you made your decision for Jesus Christ? What year was that, and where was that place?
All right. It's the church, sister church of FFL in Laurel, Maryland, June 16, 2002.
Wow.
It was Father's Day.
Wow. Okay.
I was broken. I had just separated from my wife, and my brother brought me to the church.
Yes.
Actually, I didn't really feel like going up there because I was shy, but my brother said, go ahead, go up there.
Yeah.
And so I went up there, and I gave my life to the Lord.
What did you feel at that particular time? Did you feel anything different?
I don't really remember anything at that time. I just know that I knew I needed more of God.
Okay.
It wasn't like at that moment.
Yeah.
But it was like right after that, it was like, all right, I need to go to church.
Yes.
I need God.
So for those of you who may not know, his brother is Cesar Emano. He was the one who invited Pastor Glen to that church in Laurel. How did God lead you from Laurel to Virginia?
At that time, I was working in the afternoons, or when I would be off, I would always find an excuse not to go. Okay. It was an evening service, and so I would be in the middle of something during Sundays. And then I was like, I don't want to go to church. Right. You know, baby Christian, but I knew I needed to go to church. I needed to know more of Him.
Yes.
And so on Sunday mornings, I made it a point to drive all the way to FFL. In the morning, I would drive 1 hour away
from Maryland to Virginia.
And that's how I started coming to FFL.
Yes.
In 2003.
And you started not only going, but also growing in the Lord there.
Yes.
What was the first ministry that you was involved in? Music. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
The worship team.
So tell us a little bit about that.
My brother was in charge of the worship team at that time.
Right. Yeah.
That was the thing we did on Saturdays because I lived with them. We would go to worship ministry practice.
Yes.
I liked where I was. I was always in the background. I'm a very shy person. I do not like to be in the front.
Yes.
You know, God grows us for what He has called us to.
Yes.
So I tell people now that I couldn't even speak to like 10 people, even if I knew them, to be in front of them. Wow. And they can't believe that ever happened.
Yes.
Because of who I am now.
It's amazing how God can turn a liability to an asset. And I remember when you were in the music ministry, you did not stay in the back. You were not just the backup vocal. There was a point where you started leading worship. How did that come about?
Well, in February 2009, on the way to service, I just felt like the Lord was telling me to level up, basically, to help with leading worship.
Yes.
Because I was always a background singer, but I said no. I kept saying no. I knew the Lord was telling me to do it, but I didn't say yes until September 2009.
Yes.
On the way to church one weekend, I was listening to something on the radio, and it totally convicted me. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to tell Brother Joe I'm going to help start leading worship.
Yes.
And then after service, he left. And then I was like, yes, I'm saved. I don't have to tell him anything. I can still get away from it. But Sister Johanna was makulit. I told her I needed to see Brother Joe, and she's like, oh, he already left. And then she's like, why? What's up? I said, no, I have to tell him something. But she just kept being persistent.
Yeah.
So she asked me, and I finally said, the Lord wants me to help lead worship.
Wow.
And she's like, answered prayer. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, me, so and so and so and so have been praying for you to do that. I was like, oh, you're the culprits, you know? Prayers work.
Yes.
I did not want to be in the front.
Would you say that obedience not only leads to confirmation, but also leads to open doors?
Yes, definitely.
Because from music, what ministry did you serve after that?
Well, I was in multiple ones.
Okay.
I also was in charge of food ministry.
That's right.
I had a Bible study. Actually, that was the first thing that I did, was the Bible study, which I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I told you that.
Right.
And you were like, God will be there with you,
Yes.
you know, and he did.
Yeah.
That time that I was not confident at all, somebody was in the Bible study that helped me along the way.
Wow.
And then when it was time for me to move forward with it, all those people left.
Yes.
So I was like left, and I had to stand up.
Yes. Yes.
You know, because I just never had the confidence. But God already had it in me. When those crutches left, I had no choice
Yes.
but to be confident.
Yeah. You know, there's a verse in the Bible. It says that your labor is not in vain.
Amen.
And God is not forgetful of all of the things that you have done for him. And even though that during those times when you thought that you were ineffective or you were fruitless, your faithfulness at that time actually led you to your fruitfulness now.
Amen.
In other words, all those times when you thought that you did not know what you were doing,
Yeah.
perhaps that was true to a degree, but God was training you. God was
Yes.
preparing you. Even though that we may not be, quote unquote, an expert in the field that in the ministry that we may be serving at that time, God was perfecting you, preparing you, and prepping you for what you have right now. And it's also amazing that all of the gifts that you have and the passions that you enjoy, namely music and food, all of those were incorporated into ministry.
Yeah.
And we saw you enjoy singing, preparing food. I mean, even to this very day, you know, people would actually say, Pastor Glen is coming. Is he going to be bringing any food? And that's also one of the confirmations that you're really gifted in that area.
Amen.
And so as we fast forward from the foundation to now, when did you hear that call that God is calling you to become a missionary to the Philippines, to the kids?
Well, at that time, I didn't even know he was calling me. I always had a heart for missions.
Where did you get that heart for the missions? Was this like way before you became a Christian?
When I became a Christian, I always had that hunger to serve. And I just remember when I was young in the Philippines, we weren't rich by all means, but we did not lack either.
Yes.
But I saw people that struggled, you know, and I still see that now.
Yeah.
I just remember that time, and I always tell my Bible study group that I wanted to do missions. And I totally forgot that I even had that heart until years later I was already doing missions, and somebody, Sister Irene, confirmed. She's like, Brother Glen, you're doing what you've been wanting to do forever. And I was like...
And what level was that mission work that you were doing at that time? When you didn't know that you were doing missions, what kind of missions was that?
No, I mean, I was already doing missions, but I didn't realize that I had forgotten that it was a passion of mine.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Until she reminded me
Yes.
that I always talked about it in the Bible studies. I got into it not even knowing that really truly was what I felt was God was calling me to do.
Right, yes.
And when I actually stepped into it, I only thought I was doing one mission.
Yes.
That mission, that year, 2012, when I heard him say, after our 21-day fast, well, actually mine was 28 days because I started my fast on January 2nd, 2012.
Okay.
That day, you said, next week, we start our corporate fast.
You had a head start.
I was a week ahead. I was like, Lord, I already started. So I was like, do I have to finish the
Yeah.
21 days
Right.
with you? I didn't hear anything, but when I was done with my 21 days, I felt led to finish with the church.
Wow.
And so I had a 28-day fast.
And I commend you being a team player,
Yeah.
just really being humble. And those are the ones that God really chooses, speaking of chosen, and selects for His work.
Amen.
And the mission work is a big jump, right? From having to work a full-time job most of your life, and then leaving the country to not necessarily an unknown place, but to an uncertain situation where yes, you can go to the Philippines, but where would income come in? Where would the provisions come in? The passion is there, but what about the provisions, right? And so what made you make that leap of faith to go from just totally, Lord, send me, here I am, I'm leaving America, I'm going to the Philippines, and I'm starting fresh. That's a big step.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about that?
About a year and a half, the Lord told me that I would be going. I already knew that I would be moving.
And what year was that?
That was, I believe, 2014.
Okay, all right.
Actually, I heard it when I first arrived in the Philippines on the first mission. I heard the Lord say, get ready, you're coming back in 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
But I had no idea He meant I was moving. But in September, October of 2014, He said, get ready, next year you're moving.
Yes.
So my planned move was actually September of 2015. But June, July area, my mom got sick.
Yes.
And so I prayed and I asked the Lord if I could just stay another 6 months. So I delayed it by 6 months. So I ended up going, instead of 2015, I left February 2016, which was 5 years ago, 2 weeks ago.
Right, yeah.
So I didn't want to go. I told the Lord, I'm like, I have no money because I didn't have anything saved.
Yes, yes.
I won't have a job. And I didn't have anybody supporting me.
Yes.
Not one.
Right.
A church didn't send me because He sent me. I'm like, okay, Lord, I'll go. And then everybody, family, they were thinking like I was crazy. My friends were like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You don't have any money. You don't have any supporters. I'm like, I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
And I really thought that I wasn't going to be there long. I was scheduled for failure.
Yes.
But by God's grace,
Yeah.
like He was there. When I would be almost out of money, I would just say, Lord, I don't have any more money.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, and there's still like half a month left.
Yes.
I got to pay bills. I got to eat.
Yeah.
But before I would run out of my money,
Yeah.
He would just use somebody
Wow.
randomly.
Yeah.
People that were unchurched.
Yes.
People that believed in a higher calling, but they didn't really know. But they knew me and they knew part of my story. God used those people
Wow.
to send money. They would message me and say, hey, I want to send you money. I was like, and it was just in time.
Yeah. And that's a confirmation, a solid confirmation that God has called you. And in addition to God's grace, Him sending you, a big factor of Him sending you is hearing God's voice. Because, missions can be romanticized. Missions could be birthed into someone's mind in an idea, when in fact they weren't really called of God. And so in your case, clearly God called you. And you know that God called you is because of the fact that you would hear God's voice. So I believe that a good takeaway in this journey is, for the viewers out there who want to know more about how they can hear God's voice, what would you say to them? How can you hear God's voice? Because I'm sure a lot of them would like to obey, but then again, a lot of ideas aren't really sure. Is this really me? Is this my mind speaking? How do I know that it's God calling me, leading me, sending me to a big thing that He has for me? Yeah.
Korean chicken.
Wow. Okay.
It's delicious. It's crunchy.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. This is Glen Imano. I just wanted to encourage you and invite you to come join the celebration of Faithful Living for 20 years. 20 years of ministry. It will be held at 9010 Lorton Road at 11:30 this coming Sunday. So looking forward to seeing you there, and bring your friends and come join us in our celebration. Take care.